This 2025 season, skip the pumpkin spice and try my limited edition Ego Elixir. "60% of the time, it works every time." Jekyll and Hyde, Halloween classic. Before I get started, let's see what the community thinks about this one. Victorian writing does need something special. Some special skills to understand what's going on in this writing. Seems pretty extreme from a review standpoint. I don't know if I'd go that far. Pretty rough. Plot twist through letters again. It's like the authors forgot to actually put something interesting into the story, so they just write about it after the fact. We're set in 19th century London, a time of fog, formality, and strange weirdness, and author Robert Louis Stevenson takes full advantage. We open on a scene where there's a lawyer named Mr. Utterson, and he's out for a walk. He's going to be our main point of view for the majority of this story. And he's recalling that in the wee hours of the morning, a crowd witnessed a man vilely strike down and brutalize this girl. It's just terrifying. The crowd kind of chases him down and corners him. So what does he do? He shifts into this kind of back door of an alley, closes it, comes back out with a check. The name on the check is Dr. Henry Jekyll. And no, this isn't about bank fraud. It's even stranger. I mean, he comes to find that Dr. Jekyll's will leaves everything to this fellow. And what's even more strange is it's so peculiar and particular that in the event of a disappearance, still everything goes to this fellow. So Utterson decides to take to the streets, and he's doing his very best Sherlock Holmes impersonation, although there's no Watson involved in this one. But he does eventually come across Hyde himself, and he notices that the man, even though he doesn't have a physical deformity, it almost feels like he has like a deformity of the soul. He's dark, he's hunched over, he's small. Personally, I found this book a tough read. Maybe it's the era, maybe it's the style, although I did like Picture of Dorian Gray, so maybe it's something else. But what I did find was that this writing is really thick. Stevenson's expecting you to have a dictionary in one hand and a glass of brandy in the other. Mix the two, maybe you'll figure it out. It seems like Hyde is just this very dark, broken down creature. Still, that rawness that Hyde gives off, it's not physical ugliness. It's spiritual static. You know, the way Goku can sense a power level across the planet. Utterson confronts his friend Jekyll about this man and the check and everything about it, and even though he looks like he's nursing a week-long hangover, Jekyll brushes it off. Things calm down until one foggy night, a woman at her window, looking outside, witnesses a man beaten to death with a cane. And this is a very well-respected man in the community, so the case gets notoriety. And Utterson realizes the murder weapon was a cane he himself gifted to Dr. Jekyll years ago. The prose here starts to feel like wading through molasses, but the message still cuts clear. Every person must keep this personal sense of brutality, this innate primordial reflex suppressed. Sometimes that's fascinating to unpack. Sometimes it feels like you're trying to sew something underwater blindfolded with one hand. When Utterson confronts Jekyll again, this time Jekyll says, "Oh, I've received this letter from Hyde," and he says, no, this time he's gone for good. He knows what he did was wrong, and he's ditched the country. Well, you know, when Utterson looks at this thing, it looks like, honestly, this guy wrote it lefty when he was drunk. Weeks pass, and Jekyll grows more withdrawn, cuts off his friends. Even his butler begins to take notice and worry. Through what feels like a literary obstacle course, you start to feel that the darkness inside Jekyll is taking over here. And I'm really glad that I know the concept of Jekyll and Hyde. I think a lot of readers do, so it's not a surprise story coming into it with a wow ending that you didn't know what was coming. it's pretty straightforward, and having that knowledge is super important because I'm not sure with this Victorian writing that I would have been able to figure it out. And I don't know if that's a tribute to my patience or a shot at my vocabulary. Eventually, Jekyll goes full recluse mode, even worse than when SpongeBob found out he had bad breath and hid from the world. Yes, it comes to the point where Utterson receives a letter from Jekyll, only to be opened upon hearing of his death. Months later, there's a knock at Utterson's door, and it's the butler, and he's frantic. He's ranting and raving that Dr. Jekyll's been locked inside of his lab for months, and he can hear his voice changing. It's becoming more high-pitched and frantic, and they're really worried about him because he's just screaming about salt and purity and pure salt. And no matter what they bring him, it's just not good enough, not pure enough. He's freaking out. I wonder what he'd think of modern-day pink Himalayan salt. Like, that would probably drive him even more insane. Utterson and the butler finally break down the lab door, and they find on the floor Hyde's body, twitching and clutching at an empty vial. Jekyll's body nowhere to be found, consumed entirely by shadow. Now it's time to crack open those letters, and the horror is revealed. So Dr. Jekyll has created this drug cocktail that unleashes his darker self. And he doesn't see it that way initially, but in his eyes, he's allowing his uninhibited alter ego to kind of rise to the surface. It's your 1800s Four Loko. And for those of you that don't remember what Four Loko is or were too young for it, it's like drinking 4 Red Bulls and 4 shots of tequila in the course of like 5 minutes. It's not good for you, and it has insane results. So by day, he's this kindly doctor treating patients, and by night, he's Mr. Hyde, and he's hitting the clubs. But of course, it's never just one drink. The potion becomes an addiction, each time transforming him more and more into the beast within. He's repressing some serious stuff, and the drug is giving him permission to let it all out. And like every drug addict, he builds a tolerance. It gets worse and worse. Picture Tyrone Bigham's Victorian style. One morning, things spiral. He wakes up as Hyde, and he hasn't taken one lick of the drug at all. In pure panic, he decides to double the dose, mix with the formula, mess it around, but his mind is shut, and he does not have any clue what to do with the chemistry to solve his problem. He knows the murders were Hyde's doing, and so he locks the lab door from the inside and throws away the key, afraid that because you know all addicts, they become quite cunning in a moment of crisis. My favorite part comes at the end in his final writings. Jekyll is trapped in the lab, and he's slipping. He's losing the body to Hyde. He's gonna take over permanently, and he can't allow that to happen. He won't allow that to happen. And in his final lucid thoughts, he not only jots down everything we've just covered, but also writes, "Is the hour of my death, for I can no longer separate myself from the fiend." And with that, he drinks poison rather than let Hyde win. And so Hyde dies on the floor, wearing Jekyll's clothing. Here, death acts as both punishment and purification. But there's no peace, just horror, because even though this tale ended in this way, it makes you reflect on, well, all of us. The monster here isn't supernatural. It's human nature. I prefer this kind of horror. Ghosts, great for a jump scare, but to me, the psychological horror hits way more real. And that's not to say there's anything against E.T. and Casper. They have their day, but they're not keeping me up at night. As one critic put it, man must learn to dwell in uncomfortable harmony with himself. And that is the true horror of this story, and the true lesson. I found a quote that I thought absolutely nailed it. Jekyll's sin is intellectual pride, believing he can experiment on the human soul without consequence. You can't play God without paying the piper. We all wrestle with the id, the ego, and the superego, the primal, the rational, the moral. And the key is balance. The gray thoughts that cross our mind aren't the danger. It's acting upon them. That's what matters. So at the end of it all, where do we land? Here we go. I give you a solid 3.82. 3.82. Not a major fan of this one. Love the concept. Just, I don't know. So if you agree, disagree, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you like the video regardless, leave a like, subscribe, and I hope to see you soon with more book commentary. And remember, folks, a chapter a day keeps the brain rot away. Adios, y'all.